This podcast is part of the No Phony Podcast Network, the home of independent awesomeness.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Road with Jim and Casey. With me, as always, James Morganti.
That's rad.
Joining us today, author Barry Norman. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you holding up during the quarantine?
Oh, well, for a misanthrope like myself, social distancing and being by myself is not really a big deal. I actually, in one of my films, I had my character, who was a bill collector, say she likes to drink at airport lounges because she likes to be by herself, but not alone. So it's kind of like that. So this is no big deal for me. So I'm holding up okay. How about you guys?
Not bad. Same for me. I'm not really that much of a people person, so I like being here on my little compound. So
I'm having a hard time because I'm a social butterfly. I like to, see people. I like human contact, shaking hands, hugging, talking closely, sometimes yelling. There's so many things that, I just naturally can't do. And I'm kind of tired of being told to, Jim, can you step away from me? At least 6 feet. And I'm like, well, I'm talking to you. I feel like there's this blockage.
You might be ground zero. Have you been tested yet? Maybe there's a hot spot around you.
No. Where we're at, there isn't, luckily, okay? And I've only suffered constipation so far, so I'm not sick.
I hope he's not a hot spot. I was around him today he was helping me load that U-Haul truck that I was telling you about.
Well, it's going to take a few weeks before symptoms present. So you at least have a few weeks of pretending that everything's fine.
Yeah, so Barry, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an author, a playwright, and a writer, producer, actor, director.
All those things. I basically was kind of like a multimedia guy. I started off in the magazine industry, transitioned to newspapers. Then I got an itch to go into the music industry. So I went to a school called the Music Business Institute because I saw an ad in the back of Rolling Stone. So you want to be in the music industry? And it was a 1-year course. They actually had a lot of good stuff. They had a 24-track studio, state of the art. They had a truck with all the to do a live concert. They taught things like promotion and copyright, and they also taught television production. So I was in Atlanta at the time, and I kind of gravitated towards television. So I got into it took a while, but I got a job at CNN, and then from CNN I went to CNN Sports, and then World Championship Wrestling. And whenever I talk about TV, that's the one people want to talk about. I worked for 6 Olympic Games and top-level management, so that was a lot of fun. And then when my job ended at WCW, I decided I'm going to pursue the music industry and moved to New York. And a friend of mine who lived there, he actually worked for a small label. We created, wrote, and produced a nationally syndicated alternative music radio show in 1992 that helped break the bands Four Non-Blondes and Live. Also worked for his label at the time, which had David Bowie and Gene Loves Jezebel signed. And then when the show ended, I decided to transition to film. So I got a book that says Feature Filmmaking at Used Car Prices, read that. I said, okay, I'm going to contact the guy that wrote this. And he said, I'm now working on putting that book into action for people like you that want to write, produce, direct a film and never done it before. So like a whole bunch of you, in this case, 5 of us will get together, we'll pool our money, and we'll be able to write, produce, direct a film. We shot in 10 days, 5 days, edited for 5 more, and then we had a feature film. After that, I created a film festival. I started making more films, and then I actually, 10 years ago, bought a little movie theater in Brunswick, Maine. The last couple of years there, I wrote 2 books, sold the theater last year, moved to Gloucester, Massachusetts, where I've written 2 more books, and also wrote a screenplay about the Montreal Screwjob. Based on your shirt, you probably know what that is.
Yes.
So that's in a nutshell my media career. So then I'll leave it up to you guys if there's anything there that kind of strikes your fancy. If you want to ask me about film or television or music, and then we can go into that area.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the Montreal Screwjob. You wrote a play about?
I wrote a play. I was watching on Viceland about the Montreal. Obviously, I was very familiar with it. And I don't know why, it came to mind that this could actually make a good play. And a lot of people have been saying, that sounds Trumping. A lot of people have been saying, for years they said if Shakespeare was alive today, he'd be writing for professional wrestling because that's the type of things that he wrote. I mean, about betrayal, obviously a lot of violence, a lot of father figures. So I decided the Montreal Screwjob should be written in Shakespearean language, which I did not even pretend to be a master of. I mean, I have read a lot of Shakespeare plays. So for the next month, I steeped myself in reading a lot of his plays to get the feel of it, to get the rhythm of it. And it just kind of wrote itself. There's just so many parts of the Montreal Screwjob that just seems perfect for a Shakespearean type play, including some of the names. I mean, Earl Hebner was the referee, so he becomes the Earl of Hebner. Jim Cornette was one of the writers. Cornet was a big trumpet back then, so he became Clarion. Every king, in this case, it was Vince McMahon, who I renamed Vic McNugget, has a court jester. So they had Doink the Clown, so he became Dunk. Obviously the wise fool that Vic McNugget would seek counsel for. So it's written in obviously these long monologues and dialogues, which I don't know if it would convey well. Hopefully, if this thing ever gets produced, right now obviously no plays are happening. Just like an opera, even if you don't speak or understand Italian, you'll be able to get an idea of what's going on. It's a morality play. I don't try to show Vince McMahon in a terrible light. I do poke some fun at him, but it's a morality play. Which has the right idea here? Is it him that he is? It's my promotion. Any talent that comes here is made because I gave them the venue to do so. Or is it someone like Bret the Hitman Hart, who it was my talent, my work rate that got people butts in seats, got the ratings up. I have the right to go out the way I wanted because it becomes a who made who. So the whole play is basically that argument about you hear monologues and dialogues of really grappling of how this is going to work. And then the end of the play is actually going to be a truncated version of the Montreal Screwjob. So if this actually gets on Broadway or off Broadway, every night there will be another 10-minute wrestling match. And just like real wrestling matches, a lot of it will be improvised depending on how the two actors feel about it, how the crowd is. Obviously, the ending is going to be the ending. Yeah. Because it would have to be. And then after the ending, I have both the Vic McNugget character and Bret the Hitman Hart, who I have actually as a Mexican luchador named Hombre. They come out and give one last monologue, stating their feelings as to why they felt they were right. So, I mean, who knows if anything will happen to it. I'm going to try maybe the next few weeks, talk to some of my old wrestler friends from WCW. If I can get a big name attached to it, maybe then when things open up again, maybe a producer will say, wow, I mean, obviously, Dwayne, The Rock Johnson would be perfect as Hombre. I mean, first, not only is his name recognition, but he probably could memorize and give this type of Shakespearean dialogue. Absolutely. There's not too many people that might do that. Mick Foley might be another one could do it. Steve Gordon, Sting, because he's done some acting. So who knows? That's something I'd like to see happen. But either way, I wrote it, and that's what it is.
Oh, that's cool, man. So what are your feelings on the Montreal Screwjob? Do you think it was a shoot, or?
I think it was a shoot. I mean, I just can't imagine. I'm not a big believer in any type of conspiracy. It would take so many people to do this. I just don't think so. I mean, I can understand when people come to that conclusion. I don't think so. I think that Vince McMahon absolutely positively had to have the ending he had to have, and I can understand why Bret would want to protect his image, because having worked with a lot of the guys, that is a big deal to them. They feel they worked on their character, they worked on the persona. This is who they are. They don't want to see that go out the window, especially in Canada, where it took place. Right. So I can absolutely see McMahon telling Hebner and Shawn Michaels, this is what's going to be, and Bret really doesn't know about it, and he gets all pissed off about it. So I think it was a shoot.
Wow. Yeah. So how do you feel about the other dark sides of the rings that they've been doing? A lot of these guys working. What years did you work for WCW?
I was there from 89 to 95. So I was there when it was still basically, before the big Nitro Wars and all of that and things like that. So I was there when it was still struggling to even try to keep place with WWF. But that was actually what made it fun for me. I was the public relations manager, and the guy who was the head of WCW at that time, Jim Hurd, he had no idea about wrestling. He didn't care about it that much, and he had no idea what I did. So we just said, do whatever you want. So I had a lot of freedom, and because we were, WCW was absolutely the redheaded stepchild of the Turner empire. And it was just looked down upon, and basically that actually gave me a lot of freedom. I was actually in the Turner Public Relations Department attached to WCW, so they were my client. Once a week, I had to go to Turner Public Relations for our meetings. They wouldn't let me speak. They'd like sit me away from everybody else because I was just the guy, here's the CNN rep, and here's the TNT rep, and the TBS rep, and all that, and here's Barry with those guys. And then my office was actually in WCW. As far as the dark side, you mean as far as, characters or people I don't like to throw people under the bus. Sure. The funny thing is, a lot of the people whose reputations were really horrid, I didn't have a problem with. For instance, I never had a problem with Brian Pillman. Every time I said, Brian, I need you to call this podunk radio station at 5 o'clock in the morning, to get ready for a 6 o'clock drive time, or this little tiny newspaper that's coming to the house show, and he would do it. He never gave me any flack. And obviously what we knew about him later, as far as who he was and his lifestyle, I heard some horrible stories about him as far as who he was, not in the ring. And I've heard too many people tell me, what they were for me not to believe them. I don't want to convey them because it's just what my personal experience with him was positive. Right. Ric Flair was Ric Flair. That's no gimmick. He lives, eats, and breathes that guy, and which made him fun and difficult to be around because you never knew. All of a sudden his ego would just take off, and who are you? And then the other day he's just the greatest, most magnanimous guy in the world, holding court, just telling great stories, and he's a lot of fun. So he could be great for me to work with, try to get him to do something, and then the other times he'd bite your head off. But that was just him, so I didn't take it personally. I never had problems with the Steiner brothers. A lot of people that other people found difficult, so I was able to work with. Once I started doing really neat things that they saw, that I was getting guys on TV shows, I was getting guys cast in movies, then it became a lot easier, to work with. My first few months there, when I didn't have the Rolodex to make those calls, to get a guy, cast in, like Kevin Nash and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 2, and I was just getting them on little local radio shows and interviews. Then they would run the other way when they saw me because here's a suit, this 30-year-old kid in a suit, getting me to do crap I don't want to do. But then it started to shift where they all of a sudden would start coming up to me, hey, I want to be on MTV. When Ron Simmons looked at me, and he always had a permanent sneer on his face, even though he was a good guy, he always looked like he wanted to bite your head off. And I got him on MTV once, and he was, I don't want to be on MTV, I want to be on BET. Okay, so I worked on that. So I got him on BET, and I'm approaching him, and I had the sheet of paper with all the information. I'm like giving it to him, like, here you go, Ron. And he's looking at it, and he's good. So, I don't really have any horror stories. The ones I never personally saw them. And the ones that I heard about, I just would, I wouldn't tell them just because, I just don't believe. I just completed a book about, Sid Udi, Sid Vicious. He and I were, friends for 31 years. Unfortunately, while writing the book, the friendship ended, which is why I actually didn't want to write it. When you start getting into business with friends, it doesn't turn out well too often, and that's what happened with us. But even though I would never be his friend again after what he did, I'm not going to bury him because why would I? He still had a lot of good. He's in one of my films. There's a lot of good memories about things that he did, to help me in his friendship. So I don't want to bury him. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to do the titillating stuff and really tell all the horrible, the dark side and stuff. My experience there was very positive. I love the job. I love the freedom I had. I know some of the guys were a pain in the ass, but what job aren't you going to have? People as a pain, and a lot of them were great. Like Mick Foley starred in one of my films. That was just before he went to WWE, and it became huge there. But still, he didn't have to do it. It was 3 days in between his transition period, and it's working 18-hour days. And he did that. It was a really, really interesting time in my life being over at WCW.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So you say you mentioned your films. What type of films do you do?
Well, all my films, I've made 6 films. 4 of them I've made with my mentor, the guy that wrote that book, Feature Filmmaking at Used Car Prices. His name is Rick Schmidt. He's been making films since the 70s. And the type of films he makes and the 4 that we've made together is the same with my books. It's all, there's no script, completely spontaneous, no catch lightning in a bottle, just have a certain premise, get certain people in there and watch what happens. The film that I made with actually Mick Foley actually was my biggest hit. It was a 30-minute film called Deadbeats. It was based on the worst job I ever had, my 1 month as a bill collector. And it was horrible, but I wrote this film. I wanted it to be a feature-length film, but I knew I didn't have the time or the money to do that, so I made it as a 30-minute short. I asked Mick to be the lead, and then my second lead was an actress. I made this film in '95, named Melissa McBride. Melissa's now Carol in The Walking Dead. So since her fans somehow found this film, about 5-6 years ago, whenever The Walking Dead started, it all of a sudden has exploded. It's been pirated all over the internet. Every now and then I'll Google and I'll find a review in Korean or German. I see Facebook sites dedicated to it where they do screen grabs and they actually put my dialogue in each one of the shots. It was distributed by Troma.
Oh, cool.
You heard of them. They've done things. They did The Toxic Avenger.
We actually just the other day had Justin Martell on, who was a producer. Maybe you even know him. He worked for Troma, I think in the early 2000s, and now he's a producer for Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah.
Joe Bob, my favorite reviewer.
Yeah. Yeah, Justin Martell wrote a book all about Tiny Tim. Yeah, it was pretty interesting show. But he worked for Troma, so yeah, we're familiar with Troma.
Well, I pitched Troma because I thought the same company that puts the type of films that they do, in which you're going to have no teenage, lesbian love scene, some guy eviscerated in an escalator, just lots of blood, guts, and sex, is going to like a professional wrestler. And so they agreed. So they actually invited me down to the best of, they have their own film festival called Troma Dance, the same time that Sundance and Slam Dance and all those other ones. So I went to Troma for Troma Dance, and they put Deadbeats in a compilation DVD with the best of Troma Dance Part 2. And it sold like crazy. They put Deadbeats and Mick Foley on the cover. And it sold and sold and sold. I had a 10% net deal. And if ever you have a net deal, they can always do clever accounting that shows that the costs completely supersede any profit. So I made $2.43.
Oh my God.
Distribution. It sold something like 30 or 40,000 units. And that was in the first wave. I called them after Melissa McBride became a star. I said, hey, I think this film might have a second life here. So they gave it a video on demand view. And that went through the roof because obviously they promoted it because The Walking Dead is such a huge show. Yeah. And I have not seen a check from that. So I have no idea. I mean, it costs so much money for me to get a lawyer involved to try to get the records. So I'm just glad that I had something that's out there. It's still out there. I'm not making any money at it. Some people are tearing it a new one. Some people are going, oh, wow, here's Mick Foley. Look at him. He's actually acting. Here's Bride when she was a young ingenue, long hair and all that. So it's fun to see that it's had a life, even though I haven't gotten any money and no one's come up to me and says, hey, you're the director of that movie. I want you to direct this one because that was so great. So it hasn't done anything for my career. But that was the only real scripted film I did. The only other film I did that wasn't a feature narrative that was all improv was I did a documentary on Roger Miller, not the King of the Road Roger Miller, but the Boston post-punk musician. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Mission to Burma, or Mission to Burma is one of those. They're still around today. They were pretty big in the 80s, at least regionally, but they were influential. They were one of the first to use tape loops in their recordings and live sound. They had a guy just sitting by the soundboard manipulating the tapes, so even the band wouldn't know what they would sound like. And Moby covered one of their songs. That's When I Reach for My Revolver. REM always played their songs live. So they were very, very known within the large pantheon of musicians. They themselves have never been huge, but they were always very, very big in the Boston area. I mean, they make a living at it. They don't have to do anything else. And He's in a lot of other bands. He's in a group called Alloy Orchestra. They compose and perform live music scores for classic silent films. Like Metropolis or Phantom of the Opera. Roger plays keyboards. They have one guy who plays clarinet, another guy that plays accordion, and the clarinetist and accordion player also plays junk percussion. They have a rack. They'll have bedpans. They'll have springs, and the three of those playing live in a pit while the movie is playing, and the sound they get from that combination, and then they always write the scores, in the era of the film. Like Metropolis came out in the 1920s, silent film. I don't know if you've ever seen it. To this day, it's just an amazing film. And so they'll play live, and it's all original music, but it still sounds like it fits, the era of the silent film, and it's just brilliant. So I did that documentary when I was getting my master's degree at Boston University in film studies. So I've done 4 features that are complete improv, deadbeats with Mick and Melissa, and then that documentary on Roger Miller. So the 4 films that I did with Rick Schmidt, they got good film festival. They've been all over but we never thought that these aren't the type of films that someone is going to pick up, a distributor is going to pick up, and they're not that kind of films. Maybe one day when I'm dead, all of a sudden they'll find my books and my films and go, hey, that guy, he had some, and I'll become this thing long after I'm gone. So, but that's what we all know what our starving artists hope for. I want to be known really, really well when I'm dead. That's the goal.
You have definitely a wide spectrum of stuff that you've done and you've pursued and stuff, and that's that's like an admirable talent to just how you just get into things. You know what I mean? Like movies and documentaries and working with bands, and now you're on to books. I was just reading. You're the author of a book, Flipping Point.
Right, that was my first book.
Yeah, I'm just reading the bio of it. Is that like basically your own life in a way? Is it like kind of?
It's absolutely my life. I mean, yeah. It's my life. Once again, just like my films, it's stream of consciousness. My favorite writers are Jack Kerouac, the beat writer. He did On the Road, and Hunter Thompson, because it's a very, very visceral stream of consciousness. So I started the book. I'm just about to turn 59, so I'm 62 and a half now. I have no family at the time except my dog, who unfortunately passed a year ago, and I have no idea where things are going to go from here. I still own my movie theater, so I wrote Flipping Point, and it goes almost like like Pulp Fiction, back and forth in the timeline. Whatever story came out of me, that's where I wrote it, not thinking that it has to be this and this and this. So I mean, I don't know if I did it for personal therapy. It just kind of came out of me. So I just started writing it, and that's what it became.
How I see here, it's basically, I think a lot of people can connect with this story. Basically, you're struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts, and just writing that and letting it out through your own mind again, and kind of like, I don't know if it helped you resolve issues, but I think writing is one of the best things to get something out of your system. Even to go look back on and see the way you thought of stuff, like did that help resolve any possible feelings for you that the suicidal thoughts and stuff and the depression?
It's the number one question I get asked, and it's the right question to ask. I mean, because obviously, why would you write something unless you're feeling catharsis, unless you're feeling that you're actually getting to the point of something that might, what is causing my behavior to be this way? The bad news is it really wasn't. It was unbelievably painful. Because it's a stream of consciousness, I can almost feel, not almost, I am feeling what I was going through as I'm remembering these events. Now, obviously, memory, even our own memory, is subjective. So if anyone came to fact check and interviewed everyone who was around me when I'm remembering these things when I'm 10, 15, maybe my memory is different. And that's the tricky thing about memory. So it wasn't cathartic. I didn't feel like this huge burden was lifted. But I felt it was important to write, and the feedback I have gotten has been very, very positive. People feel that there are a lot of things that I talk about and discuss where they felt they can relate to it. Because I'm not trying to analyze myself, I'm just letting it go.
Do you feel that because I'm sure your story has helped people, right? In some way, shape, or form. I mean, and it's surprising like how you could say something that you don't even think is like something that's positive or something like that, and it could help somebody in some way that's struggling through something. Do you think if you've helped someone with this story, has that helped your depression, your thoughts, just because, oh wow, well, I'm glad that you liked it, giving a spirit of happiness to somebody, that help your spirit out?
Well, one story specifically addresses your point. A friend of mine from high school was brutal for me. Everything, I mean, it was just the 4 worst years of my life. I mean, I was bullied constantly. My father had just remarried, and my stepmother was the stepmother from hell. The first thing she did was kick my sister out of the house when she was 16, so I didn't have her around. I had 2 stepbrothers, one my age, one 2 years older, who were the best looking, best athletes, the best everything. So it was horrible. So a friend of mine from high school, who was a Facebook friend, but I haven't seen in 40 years, she read the book, and she told me that she was at a funeral, and one of the guys who I name in the book as one of my bullies was there at the funeral, because they both knew the same person. And my friend went to him and says, you know you're in this book? And she goes, yes, I know. Someone told me and I read it. And she goes, does that make you feel? And he goes, awful. I had no idea I was that much, that was me. It's just, I don't know why I was like that. He's a fireman now. So it made me feel, I mean, I don't feel like I got revenge, because that wasn't the point, but it made me feel good. One, he obviously turned his life around, because he's now a person who is a first responder. They're the people that we look towards to do incredibly good things. And the fact that after reading it made him feel really, really badly, looking at to how he impacted another person who made that impact. I mean, he wasn't the only one that bullied me, so it's not like, you know, you're responsible for my depression and any suicidal thoughts, but there was a lot of people, especially in high school, that did. So it made me feel good that someone read it, realized that that was not the greatest way to act, and obviously, hopefully he has kids, and hopefully he's trying to teach them to do it differently than he did. So it was interesting to hear from someone that a person who was a major negative in my life that time period feels bad about it, has regrets.
That's, you know, I've thought about, you know, bullying a lot, and like I was, as a kid, I was bullied. I was like a huge comic, you know, I was a nerd and into, you know, comics and you know, I played sports, but I wasn't like I don't know, I was, I guess, friends with kind of everybody, but like I definitely got bullied, especially in like elementary school. Not too bad, but to a point that like I was bothered. But I realized after growing up and talking to these people then, and when you grow up, all of them, like they've been through something so traumatic in their childhood that made them almost, I got to take this out. So then as I got older, and I'm not saying, hey, bullying's so great, you know, because you become tougher than, because I never hated bullies. I was never like, you know, I actually thought a lot of the bullies were funny. Like they were funny guys. And I was like, man, you're so funny, but you know, you're still like picking up, you know what I mean? Like I don't get angry. I never had the one was like, ooh, I'm going to put this bully in his place. I never really thought about that, because like I kind of saw good qualities in them, that because they had friends and stuff. And I was like, well, he's funny. You know what I mean? But as I got older, then I found out they were going through all these personal psychological problems in their families, and families breaking up or something happening, and they're taking it out. And then years later, they're all like, Jim, you know, you're so awesome and fun, and you know what I mean? Like, or in school, and I feel like ashamed, and they feel so bad. And this probably doesn't go for all bullies, but a lot of them, and I hear this a lot when you actually speak to people that bullied other people, they feel so bad that they become like, a lot of them, like they go down wrong paths in life, and like they feel bad. So in a way, like we should feel bad for bullies, and like kind of like want to, hey, you know, what'd you go through? You know, because not feel bad for them. I mean, obviously it's a bad thing to do, is bully people, but it always, and then in turn, it makes the person that was bullied usually stronger in the end.
Well, no, you have you make a good point. I moved away from Boston the minute I could after I graduated college. I moved to Denver. I actually just finished a book about my years in Denver. I went to my 10-year high school reunion, and at the time I went there, I was trying to be a competitive bodybuilder, and I was on steroids, and I had gained 75 pounds.
Holy shit!
So I come back to Boston, and I remember I said I had 2 stepbrothers. One of them was my age.
Yeah.
So he hasn't seen me, in a couple of years. So he sees me, and he was friends with all the bullies because he was one of the cool kids. He was a big baseball star, big soccer star, nailed all the cheerleaders and all that. So I come home and he sees me and he calls up all the bullies who are his friends. And he goes, Barry's back in time. He's a goddamn monster. So he thought that I'm coming back. This is going to be revenge. So we're back at the high school reunion. Most of the bullies had become cops at that time. This is, I graduated high school in 75, so this is 85. They became cops. And so I go there, and a lot of these guys come up and he goes, Barry, if I did anything that bothered you, I'm so sorry. And I'm, whatever, because I was not there to pick a fight. Your 10-year reunion, you want to see, the hot cheerleaders, what they look like. They weren't. A lot of them had married, divorced, already had 2 or 3 kids, or already, they've lost it completely. It's like, Al Bundy in male and female form. All the cool kids were not the cool kids. So, so the best revenge was the one that never came. The captain of the football cheerleader, she was all over me like a bad suit. So it was funny. I was not coming there to make anyone feel bad. I was just, it's your 10-year reunion. You're curious. So the best revenge was the one they got on themselves, because they were just begging, from them to say, I'm so sorry if I did anything that bothered you. Because, okay. I also had grown. I was the shortest one in high school for years. Then I actually grew a foot in like 4 or 5 months, but didn't gain any weight. So the few bullies that wouldn't pick on me because, hey, look how short he is now. Now I'm 6'3", 130 pounds, but I'm 6'3". So I grew 2 more inches in the 10 years. I graduated high school like 140 maybe, and now I'm 270.
Jesus.
Well, are you still into the? Because I love working out, body, and I was kind of similar. Like as a kid before I really I'm about 6'2" now, and as a kid I never really worked out. Young, I played basketball a lot and guitar. Well, I've been a musician, most of my life, but I when I got older, I just loved working out, man. And I got into it, just being active and stuff. And yeah, I think when you hit, I think 30 is a big age of, it's like, what paths do people do? And I kind of thank my mom for kind of sheltering me a little bit from all the cool kids and all their cool parties. Oh yeah, don't you want to be cool? Oh yeah, go work out like crazy right now and be ripped. And when you're a young kid, and go to all these live fast when you're parties and this, that, and the other. I never did that. I didn't even have sex till I was 22 years old. And I was sheltered, yeah. But I thank my mom for that, because I kind of grew up slower and behind a little bit. But now that I'm older, I'm in phenomenal. Some would say phenomenal. According to the last few girls I've talked to, without my shirt on, ripping, we're just trying to change things up, in our life, and just get better and stuff, not burning yourself out. And then, not that there's anything wrong with not working out and just working forever and working out your wallet and making tons of money, that's great. I'm pro that too, but I just look at it as, I might look young, except for my grays on my side. But but that just always happens, man. I realize I kind of thank my mother for kind of protecting me from living too fast and just aging in a way. And I don't know if that's how your story was, but I just got into fitness basically in my 20s, and then I tried not to give it up. Now it stinks because we can't do anything now, and I miss having a pump so bad.
Well, I started working out in high school because my oldest stepbrother, once again, he was the big, strong football player, and he looked at me in the bathroom once. He says, Barry, your chest is concave. So I said, I'm going to go into the gym, but I had to do 10 push-ups first, and that took me a month. And then I asked my dad to give me the hardest summer job you can, and he got me a job unloading watermelon trucks at 4 a.m, 1 throws and 1 catches. And then the following summer, I unloaded freight cars, 100-pound sacks of potatoes. So I've been a gym rat my entire life. I've been married twice. Both my wives I met at gyms. I became a bodybuilder after my first divorce because she was a champion bodybuilder. Now, this was in the early 80s. They weren't gigantic. They were still very feminine looking, but she was ripped. And we decided you can't have 2 bodybuilders in the family because both dieting together, you're going to kill each other. So after, she left and I found out she slept with all the big guys at my gym, that's when I decided I'm going to start, trying to compete. And all the big guys says, Barry, you're working out hard, but you'll never compete with us. You better get on the juice. The biggest guy in the gym told me that, and of course he became my dealer. Now the problem is I did not know I had a scoliosis until my squats went the highest. I mean, I was never a good bench presser because my left arm is 2 inches shorter than my right. But squats, when you're tall, you can't squat, right? Because we have to go so much further. So I got up to, a 500-pound squat, and I blew my back apart. Just herniated, both discs. So I'm still a gym rat. I mean, I still work out because I have to, but I have so much arthritis, in my knees. My right hip is going, my neck, my shoulders. One reason I had to sell my movie theater is because the office, it was in a mall, this place that you would never expect a movie theater to be. My office, the ceilings was 5'5", and the bending over and all that has started doing so much problems with my neck and shoulders. So I'm still a gym rat, and I have good genetics. People say I don't look in my 60s, but I feel like I'm in my 90s because I tore the good news is, working out is a positive addiction. Like you, I can't get the pump I want, but I have my cords, my 40 pounds, stretchy things. I have this coil that you can bend to get some resistance.
Right.
I walk 5-6 miles a day, which makes my feet and knees just hurt, and I do it fast because I'm trying to get some type of cardio going. So it's been a great thing and a horrible thing. It was good for my body because I definitely got self-confidence. Women have told me since then that they like how I look, but it's destroyed it at the same time. But that's because I didn't know I had a pre-existing injury that was just going to make doing those type of squats just not a good idea.
Right. Where do you? What city are you in?
I'm in Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, that's the thing. With working out and all that, I think it's such a great thing you can do. In a way, when I was living in Austin, I worked out with a bunch of very fit individuals that pushed me and everything. I've never taken steroids or anything. I'm always kind of happy with how I looked. I just wanted to get stronger, but I would often ask myself, you're pushing weights and you're doing things that, because I can't squat anything, and I hurt my back deadlifting one time a few years back. I pulled something, and it's always aggravated me for a while. But I kind of feel, I wonder, are we really doing something that's healthy for us? Or are we is this we're bench pressing, yeah, and then we're doing all these things, but years later, all the guys that look great, and we're we're like this, oh, I got to actually bend down now, and they can squat a lot, but we move slower and everything hurts. And then if you don't lift for a while, everything hurts even more because it's kind of why aren't you beating me down like you usually do?
Well, the exercises that us guys were trained to are the ones that are actually worse for our joints. Bench press, terrible for you. Squats, terrible for you. Shoulder, behind the neck press, it just ruins your whole shoulder girdle. So it's taken me a while. First of all, the last couple of years, I had to do something that I hated doing. I had to lose weight on purpose. Because I was always the guy, oh, you're so slender, you're so skinny. Oh, you just hated that. And I was that guy, the skinny guy, the beanpole. And then I got huge, and that actually messed my body up. So I love being in the gym, and obviously I've learned now how to do it correctly. Even with all my arthritis and all my aches and pains, I know how to do it so I get a good pump and I'm not hurting myself. I wish I'd known that years ago and not be that competitive jerk. I had to be able to bench press 400. I got to squat 500. What do you bench? What's your squat? What's your deadlift? Nobody asked me. Nobody asked me what my tricep push down is or what my leg extension is.
Yeah.
I'm really good.
I always say this. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, how fast can you bounce your pecs? You can't see it with this black shirt. Also, I haven't benched.
I saw in the link I sent for your last show where your guest was a lot better looking than me. So I know you can do that.
Hey Barry, so when you were huge, was that during your WCW days when you were working for WCW?
No, that was before that. That was before I moved to Florida and then Atlanta. But I still had the residuals. I lost a lot of the weight because one, I just destroyed my back and I realized I couldn't do those heavy weights, and I certainly wasn't going to do steroids anymore. I did them for 1 year solid, and I didn't cycle, because every time I cycled off them, which you're supposed to do to let it clear your system, let your natural testosterone go, wait a minute, we're short here, we need to pump it up. I would lose a pound or two of water weight and then freak out and do it again. So I was still at least a decent size at WCW, and I did know, obviously, I mean, the first gym I belonged to when I was, there's a place called Superman Blunt's Fortress of Fitness. And that's where all the WCW guys worked out. I mean, the first day I walked in there was Luger, there was the Road Warriors, and there was also Lee Haney, who went on to win Mr. Olympia 7 years in a row, and then opened up his own gym. So, and then Sid Vicious and I became pretty, really, really good friends, and we'd work out together a lot. So I mean, it's certainly hard to tone down my workouts when I'm working with those guys, because their thing they used to say to me was, "You're tall, and that's all." That was their fun joke. Because I mean, yes, there were still a whole bunch of. I mean, there was we had El Gigante, who was 7'7", Kevin Nash, who was 6'10", 6'11", Sid is 6'8", and I was 6'5". And then there were still a lot of guys who were 6'4", 6'2". And then Pillman was, I think, 5'9". But so I was tall enough that but yeah, that was what they used to say to me. But I was big enough where they respected me. They knew I worked out, and then when they saw me in the gym, they knew I knew my way around there. So that helped me a little bit as far as getting along with them. I'm just not a guy in the suit. They knew that I actually worked out. I played softball. I actually got Sid to play on the CNN softball team. Only one game, but he went 5 for 5 with. It was a 4 home run league. He hit home runs his first 4 at bats. His 5th one, he knew he couldn't hit a home run because he'd be out. He hit a screaming line drive to the center field that knocked his glove off over the fence. So they called it a single and 3-base error. But technically it was a home run. So, yeah, I mean, I was able to hold my own in the gym with them. I mean, I wasn't doing the drugs that they were doing, and obviously I'm not doing squats anymore. Yeah. But they knew I knew. I mean, I could spot them. So I worked out with Sid, and he was doing his, his huge shoulder workout over his traps, like 2 freaking roast beefs there. So he knew I knew what I'm doing, and I knew. I mean, and I actually showed some of them some exercises. I got some of them to do the 100-rep set, which is hard to do because you got to cut the weight, and they hate that. You're bench pressing with 85 pounds, so you look like a real wuss because after 80, 90 reps, you're not stopping. You're struggling to get it up, and they hated that look. Because some guy would walk out and they'd see this, 290-pound guy struggling with 80. Hey, look at this guy. You're not so big now, but try doing 100 reps with not stopping.
Dude, that's why I never liked lift. I'm like a lazy lifter. When I worked out, I'm like, oh, I gotta do more than 8 reps. Are you crazy? Like when they're like, we're doing 15 reps here. I'm like, bro, is this the Olympics? Like. I like going heavy all the time on everything because I'm like, oh, I only got to do 8 here. It's less reps. It doesn't take as long because when you get higher reps, it takes forever.
Try the 100-rep set. I mean, that's the only exercise you do for that body part because you're just blowing it out. I mean, your body doesn't know what weight you are. After 50 reps, it feels like it's not. No, it's a lot more than that. Try that because it cuts down your weight, so it's actually cutting down the stress in your joints. It's blowing up the muscle. You're getting all kinds of pump in there. And then anyone who makes fun of you said, go ahead, do it.
And then, do you feel – I've always wanted to talk about this. I feel like – I don't know, and I'm totally generalizing here, but so many, probably the majority, I would say very high majority, of people that work out a lot cannot keep relationships. It's so hard to keep a relationship together for a person that loves to work out and go to the gym and for if they're both doing it together. I feel like it's so hard because I personally know so many people. I mean, I'm the same. I'm talking about myself here because we kind of do it because we look good, I don't know, one person. And also we kind of hate ourselves too. We're like, oh, I'll never be good enough. I'll never be big enough. I'll never be rich. It's almost like I hate myself. Because I would pump myself up looking at the mirror. Look at you piece of garbage. No one loves you. You can only, do. And I'm just like, but then it took me obviously a while spiritually. And also when I hurt my shoulder, I really had a bad shoulder injury. I couldn't work out forever. I had to train my spirit. I'm like, no, I don't need a pump to feel good about myself anymore. because I couldn't work out for like 2 months. And so now I just do it. Hopefully, if I can, I love it. If not, hey man, I'm happy too. But I feel like it's so hard for people that love going to gyms and being bros and benching and all that stuff. It's hard for us to keep a relationship because I don't know. I don't know why. I just feel for some reason. And also, people that go to the gym and kill themselves, their kids are a lot of times out of shape completely. Well, I don't know why that is.
Well, it's a reaction, anything parents do. But I told you I met both my wives in gyms. My first wife was a bodybuilder, and this was in the gym in Denver called The Gym. Bill Phillips worked out there. He ended up owning EAS later. He was a Mr. Teenage Colorado. So I met Karen. I'm doing calf raises with like 800 pounds. She walks by, she goes, huh. I go, why? Can you do more? And she goes, yep. So she gets on there 1,000 pounds, no problem. So we start dating, and everyone else in the gym hates me because he was absolutely the hottest girl in the gym there. So this is contrary to what you think, right? Here we both love working out. That's where we match. I mean, we just...
Right, no. Yes, I'm saying like to last, though. Like a lasting...
Here's what happened. This is actually the opposite. She was a really, really good athlete in college, so she had all kinds of medals and things like that. And I went to Connecticut College. It was an all-girls school just before I got there. It was all intramural. I mean, I was a good athlete, but not like her. Her first bodybuilding contest, she wins her weight division. She wins the overall, and you know what those trophies look like.
Yeah.
So we got married. She makes a trophy room. She has all of her medals from track and field in college, all of her trophies. Then she has her 2 giant 6-foot trophies. And I have 2 trophies. I have my 1967 archery trophy from Camp Bowercrest when I was 10 years old. And here's what's even worse. I had a 2nd place in a flag football, a co-ed flag football team league in which her team was 1st place. Her team beat my team in the championship. So we have friends over the house, and she loved to go into the trophy room. Look at what we have there. And they see her trophies up the air and all her medals, and they see my archery trophy. So it was the opposite. We both loved working out, and that's how we met. So it wasn't anything like, no, I'm just talking with the bros and all that, because she can hang with the guys and working out. And it didn't work out because she wanted, she wanted the guys who were even bigger. I mean, I don't know what she wanted. Just it turned out not to be me. She ended up having an affair with Bill Phillips, and everyone wanted her. And then my second wife, she was the chubby girl that got a job in the gym to inspire her. And she was 210 pounds when we met. She said she'd already lost like 30 pounds. So she was even bigger. Gorgeous face, though. So we got married, and I never told her what to eat or how to work out, but because I'm very strict in my diet and I'm not missing a workout for anything, it inspired her. So she kept on working out. She dieted. She got down to 135, and then she insisted I get her a boob job, which I didn't want to do, but she insisted. So I got her the boob job, and now she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous, and I'm 21 years older than her, so that was that. She became who she always wanted to become, with inspiration for me and actual plastic surgery help for me, and off she went. So I don't know if those are helpful stories to you as far as what you're trying to achieve, or that's like the worst.
I've heard, this is all stuff not the same stories, but like I've heard, obviously this stuff happens at gyms and at CrossFit places. It's just cesspools of people gathering together, and everybody's things are happening, and there's all this, I get it. Like, that's all you hear. And that's why I'm saying, like, why is it that, is it something in all of us that we're lacking, and then we meet somebody, but we still secretly have to work out all the time and want to look like, I don't know. Hey, I know everybody has something in them, but I always felt like, I'm like, oh, you have to go to the gym, like you have a strict gym routine. I feel it's so hard. I think it's,
it's a positive addiction. You're used to the endomorphins. No, I mean, there's 2 things. It's one, it's actually a physical chemical thing where you're forcing these endomorphins. You cut those off like we have now. We can't get the pump now like we get the shakes. The other thing, yes, we want women to like us. Oh my God, that never changes. And like I said, I'm in my 60s. I think you're a little bit younger. Let me tell you, it doesn't change. You're always going to look at yourself like, do I have that old man butt? Because I know it's going. I mean, right now my girlfriend is 15 years younger than me, and she says, oh, your body is gorgeous. Her last boyfriend was 300 pounds. So it's like, it's hard for me to get really excited. Oh, look what I'm getting compared to. But it doesn't stop. Like we're addicted to the gym because we like the endomorphins, and we don't want to look we all know what the old man butt looks like. We all know that. We don't want to be that guy, where you take the pants off and it's just straight down and everything's all wrinkly. And so we're trying to prevent that from happening. And that even with all my injuries, and I can still work out some, I can still maintain. I'm still better than most of the millennials out there who don't give a damn about working out at all, which I actually appreciate because I don't want to see them in the gym. I like seeing people my own age, so I mean, when everyone's in their 50s and 60s, so I know none of us are benching 400 or 500 pounds anymore, and you hear even with just putting the weight on the bar, and we still got a grunt because you got to bend over. Who put it all the way down in the tree? They should be up this high. But yeah, you're never going to quit working out.
If only girls knew what we were doing for them. Do you think we like bench pressing 400 pounds and throwing weight up? Oh, my bicep ripping it out. Oh,
Kind of. Yeah, we kind of do because what's the alternative? The alternative is being that the geeky people that we were in high school when everyone picked on us. Now we're the older geeky people, but at least we have enough of a physical presence that maybe they'll think about it. So our personalities haven't changed, but at least that's all I want. I just want the guy to think twice before he picks on me. And then I've won the battle. And then once I open my mouth, it's all downhill from there. So you just got to learn to shut up, right? Just don't talk and everything's fine. So that's why I'm on a podcast, because I'm sure this is really going to work out there for your female viewers. What do you have this yucks on for? All he's talking about is working out, 100 rep sets. Who gives a damn? Tell me about David Bowie. You met him?
No, we have a pretty big female audience, and I
not
know
anymore, not after me.
They're gonna
female
girls. They want to know about the bro and like what are these guys doing at the gym? Why are they working out? It's because we hate ourselves and we'll never be good enough, and we need to build the size of our biceps and our wallets and our brain, and we're trying to build everything up and be this ultimate man. And then to finally meet you, just probably so they can leave us eventually and go with someone better. I don't know, but there's always going to be.
Well, you got it. They're going to leave us with something better, a little better. I mean, isn't that every guy? I've told every girl I've had a relationship with, every guy's biggest nightmare is our girlfriend or wife leaves us, and we're always imagining them with the next guy in bed saying, "Oh God, it was never like this with Barry." We always imagine that. We don't think about what we've lost. We just don't want to be compared in a negative way. We just want to be better than the next idiot that they're with. I mean, right? Or is this just me? This is my next book.
Yeah, I thought that way. So I try to play devil's advocate with myself. Like, for sure, you want to be better than the last guy because obviously that didn't work out, and maybe this one will. Maybe I'm just worse in a different way. Maybe they were, I don't know. There's a secret to this, and this is a good conversation that we're having leading to our next episode. I'm having my brother and sister-in-law happily married. Neither of them go to the gym ever. They work out at home. They do their own stuff at home, right? Super happily married for 11 years. We're having them on after the show for the secrets to a successful marriage. And I'm bringing up exactly this and saying, should we stop going to the gym and flexing in front of the mirror when girls walk by, give them a little peck bounce, and then, when they look at us and, I like, hey guys, maybe we should, I don't know, should we slow down that?
Well, look, every girl we've ever talked to also is saying, the number one thing is he has to have a good sense of humor. Right. And then you see, I don't like big muscles on a guy. And then you see them with the giants, the huge guy knows that. So we will kill ourselves trying to figure out what they want.
I realize that. I look at it this way. I look at it this way. When you're at the beach, and you see as a guy the biggest, most ripped guy there that is whoa. Let's say, wherever you are, Miami or whatever you're doing. And you see the biggest guy there ever that is just built perfectly. Rarely, and I would say almost never, are they ever with, and I'm not only saying we should date beautiful women. I like all girls. I like hot, medium, ugly, whatever. If you work out, great. I'm attracted to natural attraction. Smart, stupid, medium brains. I like all brains. You're really dumb, great. Are you a good person? You know, but when you're looking at guys, when you look at guys at the beach, the built, ripped one that looks like a Mr. Atlas is never with the most beautiful girl at the beach. The guy that's with the most beautiful girl is always like the guy that like kind of works out. Yeah, he's like, all right, maybe a little belly fat, maybe like probably not ripped, just like normal size, works out like maybe, I don't know, on occasion, 10 times a month, 15 times a month. And it's just like an awesome dude that everybody knows and likes. That's who always has like the most beautiful person. And so I kind of like want to find that blend of, oh, well, who wouldn't want to be just like who would I want to like hang out with? Because I've definitely, when I was dieting like crazy and I was shredded, and I would go up to a girl and be like, hey, excuse me, you know, do you have a Band-Aid? And they would look at me like, oh, no, why, are you okay? And I'm like, because I'm ripped and I'm like that. No, I'm sorry.
How'd that work for you?
Because I'm cut. Do you know how to sew? I just totally said that wrong. The other one was.
That's a great pickup line. Hi there. Do you know how to sew? I'm going to try that.
Because I'm ripped. And then they looked at me, and that never was like promising. And I thought about it. I was like, I'm trying to make them laugh, and they would look at me like I'm this Jersey Shore douchebag, or we gotta say it like douchebag, and you know,
douchebag, huh?
And so I mean, obviously there's a joke back, but like, yeah, girls like guys that, I mean, just be yourself, be confident, you know.
I haven't been to the gym since high school. Just saying.
And you're happily married 30 years, aren't you?
No, I mean, I've been with my girlfriend for over 5 years now. So
well, you can add up both my marriages together don't add up to 5 years. But no, here's the one thing I will give women credit. You have obviously seen the most gorgeous girl we've ever seen with the guy we look at, huh? Now, have you ever seen an absolutely gorgeous guy with a woman who you don't think is at least equal to him? The women will go for someone whose looks aren't that great. The guy won't. I mean, the ugliest guy in the world will go up to the prettiest girl that he sees and ask her out.
Because that guy, I always say this, like, I'm never, what is she doing with that guy? I'm like, I don't know why, and everyone calls me crazy. I'm like, I want to know that guy. Like, he's probably the smartest, coolest, or like there's something in his brain, because women just like big throbbing anything. They love big throbbing brain.
Throbbing anything.
Yeah, like they'll take muscles, you know, your precious, you know, Italian sausage, whatever, a brain, you know, whatever gets them like that, like that is like, I would want to know, I would want to train everything to be big and throbbing, you know, like, and if there's an ugly guy that's like fat or whatever and old that is hooking up with a 20-year-old and he's 50, I don't know, I want to be like, yo, dude, like, so who, like, what do you do? Like, and he's probably going to have the coolest stories and stuff like that. Like, that's how I've always looked at it, because I don't really judge girls that like older guys or like younger guys or like that rich guys or that like built guys or whatever. You know, we all have our things and what we like some guys like girls that are crazy, some guys, you know what I mean, like everyone has their ways, their supposed love language, whatever you want to call it. Some people like spending time, some people like getting gifts. It's like the same level of love, you know. Oh, you gave me this? That means you love me. Or, oh, you're spending time with me. That means you love. Everyone has their way of understanding based from their childhood of how they were raised and how they understand love. And so that's why I'm like, oh, that guy's I want to get to know that guy and how, you know, obviously he knows himself really well and he's confident. I can't keep relying on the gym because my body's going to fail at some point.
Well, here's what I found out, and I wish I could actually do this, you know, on purpose. Whenever I've been like aloof and standoffish, that's when they're attracted. It's like, you don't like me, you must be. I'm going to make him like me. I mean, when I used to go to bars a lot when I was in my 20s, I had my drinking friends, and that's what I went with. I didn't care about meeting anyone, and they couldn't stand that, right? You hear these guys having fun without us. What's up with that? Or obviously, if you're with a woman, if you're not married or girlfriend, they're going to assume you are, and you've been pre-cleared. It's like a credit thing. I mean, I had a one-night stand with a Playboy Playmate of the Year only because I had a horrible day. And I went into this bar and it was crowded. I said, okay, I want a crowded bar because I don't want to be in a little bar where a couple of people, you know, you see that you're all depressed and drinking. I didn't even see the sign outside that she was there, promotion for Miller Lite. So I'm just there drinking, looking miserable. And finally, after an hour, she comes up to me and she goes, everybody here has been all over me, hitting on me, and you're just sitting there. Why? And I go, I've had a crappy day. So now she realized I'm not there. Oh, you're so gorgeous. Oh my God, I want to do things to you. I'm just the guy who was there. So now she talks to me, to find out what's going on. And that's what I was not into her like everyone else who was there, but for a correct reason. I wasn't there purposely trying to ignore. It's like, I'm going to be this coquettish guy. And that seemed to work with her.
And where, just to, for the viewers, for everyone out there, the listeners, how did you how did you do this one night stand? Is that in a car, a hotel, or? A
hotel. Yeah, I mean, like she was there. She was traveling with Miller Lite, going meet Vicky Lassiter, Miss February 1982. So it was a big deal. She's on tour with Miller Lite, going to various bars. So obviously they're going to sell a crap load of Miller Lite. So she has a hotel, and it wasn't that far from the bar as it turned out. So as we're there in the closing, and we're actually talking and getting to a real conversation, and I guess some people like the depressed guy because they want to fix that. So she I guess found out that I guess there was something else about me. But first of all, I'm not there because you're so gorgeous. I didn't even know she was there. I did not come there thinking she was there. I missed all the signs. You're a crowded bar, good. I can just disappear in the bunch of flesh. And she saw that, because every other guy was all over her, right? Because of who she was and why they were advertising. So she actually came over just to find out what's up, why aren't you? And she liked it, so here I am, this broken, miserable guy having a horrible day, just in the wrong bar that she happens to be in, and we just strike up a normal conversation based on not you're this gorgeous playboy of the month, you're this person who just wants to talk, and now I'm talking, and so we just find it. So it just, I guess, it was her idea. I guess it just seemed to be the way to complete that night. So she liked me. She ended up liking me for being this miserable son of a bitch who wasn't there just ogling her and just staring at her for just for that. So I actually got to know her a little bit in conversation.
So was that night, that I'm not pro one night stands, I try. Look, I'm trying to live a good life, be a righteous man. I love God, but hey, I'm a human. Things have happened with me with a couple of girls that were miss, something. I'm not going to bring up any names, but and a couple times, and I don't even know how. I don't want one night. I mean, I don't look for them. I would look for long-standing all the time, but sometimes it's as easy as, oh, you like Dragon Ball Z, and then all of a sudden, there's people. Obviously that you have that connection, and then it's this miraculous night. Not miraculous. Hey, I'm not condoning that. We're all sinners here, but I mean, some of these nights though that are so crazy that just happen because you're a person that is just there at the right time, and they're like, oh, all these other guys that are hitting on me right now. No one, first off, had chest hair, by the way. One of the things, when you're a bro, all the bros out there, guys, stop shaving your chest, man. I'm telling the majority of girls, I'm pretty sure they like chest hair. This isn't just an Italian coming here. I'm saying this, but yes, it's wonderful.
So for the last 7 years that you've been single, and that you've been looking for this long-term relationship, these one night stands have just.
Oh, it's been 18 years since my last marriage. I haven't. No, I don't do one night stands.
I'm talking about Jimbo. I'm talking about
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking for a meaningful relationship for the last 7 years, but he meets women every couple weeks, one night.
And how's that working out for you?
No, in my defense, I haven't done that in a long time. One night stand. I try, I try to keep things simple on myself. Do I slip up sometimes? I mean, maybe there's a hand shandy, as it's called nowadays, here and there. You're lonely. You don't want to have sex. You want to try to save your precious mojo for something.
Hand
And
shandy.
just,
I'm a boomer. That's a real term. A hand shandy.
it's just something that they can do for you to relieve something. Hey, I'm against. I'm trying to do. Trying to be a good. Do the right thing. So I go long periods of time without doing anything, and then once in a while, something will happen.
We've really gone off the rails here, haven't we?
Yeah, I bet.
Well, okay, so
I blame myself.
Right. No, I honestly, I love talking about this conversation. I need to be better with my words sometimes. But okay, so last thing, before we finish everything, I'd like to just ask you, like, what's your advice? I mean, you know a ton about bodybuilding and getting better and moving forward and resolving issues, doing your best. You're always going to live with it. I mean, everyone struggles with something. What's something that you can give to people that to take home in like a, what's your message? You know what I mean? Like, give us something to put in our pockets almost that we can pull out. Like my dad always said, put it in your pocket and pull it out later, and you can use it.
Well, the only thing I can say is, obviously, being someone involved in media, most of my life, is find the method of expression that really, really suits you. I mean, in my case, it was filmmaking, which is obviously collaborative and expensive, and now it's become writing. Find whatever your method of expression is, even if it's just sitting and listening to music, something that connects you, especially now that we're self-quarantining, something that makes you still feel connected, to people, to the world, to the universe. Whether it's music, whether it's movies, whether it's reading a book, whether it's contemplating, whether it's doing yoga, whatever your method of expression is that suits you the best, it actually makes you feel that you're still, even while you're by yourself day in and day out, that you're actually not by yourself. So everyone, I think, just has to find whatever their mode of expression is, because when you're back with people again, you're going to find that it's helpful, that you're going to actually be able to convey how you feel, to other people and accept what they're saying to you, instead of just talking blindly at each other where it's not really connecting. I mean, you can just, you hear a song that all of a sudden takes you back to a certain time, and you can actually relive that feeling. And if you find someone you want to talk to about that, that becomes another mode of expression. Your music then can become a verbal expression. So find what makes you happy in communication, and do that as often as possible, and also get involved in doing it yourself. If you said you're a musician, I imagine that if you're just playing guitar, whatever instrument you play, you're feeling connected, aren't you? Find that thing in you find it.
I mean, it's what's taken me all over the place, and literally every experience of my life that has been basically like the greatest was because I pursued the treasures of my heart. No matter what. I mean, I'm gonna do that, rich or poor, sick or healthy, old or young. You're always asked, hey, when are you going to stop playing guitar? When are you going to stop doing this? When are you going to stop doing that? Grow up. When are you going to stop? And I was like, thinking about it, I'm like, when I'm like 100.
Why would you want to stop it? I mean, I want to learn new things. I mean, if you found something, obviously you're into music like I am. I never learned how to play an instrument, which I regret. But I'm still extremely, I'm passionate about music, and I was lucky actually to work in the business for a while, and in film, choosing the music and soundtrack. So I can't imagine why anyone would say to you, stop doing that. Or, I imagine someone tell me, why do you make films? You haven't made money. Well, you haven't made a fortune writing books. Why do you do that? Because it's meaningful. Even if no one sees it or no one reads it, it's still meaningful that I did it.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a relationship in yourself. Like, if I marry someone, I'm gonna marry you, rich or poor. Are you rich or poor? I love you either way, right? Or sick or healthy or this, that, and the other. I'm gonna do this. I always ask people, what would you pursue? Whether you're homeless or you're the richest person in the world, what are you still gonna do? I'm still gonna probably do push-ups if I can. I'm still gonna probably be active somehow. I'm still going to find a guitar. I'm still going to play it. I'm still going to preach a good word to somebody and hopefully bring them, something that comes through me that I pray about. And like, I'm still going to speak words of life to people. But I don't care if I'm homeless or if I'm rich and wealthy. I'm always going to do that. And that's I like to ask people that, like, what would you always do regardless of your situation?
Well, I was actually homeless for 3 weeks. The book I have coming out in a couple of months, that's where the book starts, where I was homeless in New York City in Greenwich Village, for 3 weeks before I got this gigantic, Fortune 500, 500 company job with an expense account in a 3-state territory and a company car. You can't really do push-ups when you're homeless. I mean, you could, but I don't recommend it. But no, you're right. I mean, I actually, even though it was only 3 weeks, I actually found it one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because you really have to figure out exactly, who you are, who you're going to be, because now you're in a situation that is so foreign, or I mean, if you grew up like I did in a fairly, middle-class family, you only have your thoughts, your ideas, and where do you think you're going to go from here? Because now you're at rock bottom, at least financially. But it was actually so, in a sense, there was some of it that was so peaceful because there was no other distractions. Here I am. The only thing I'm trying to do is get enough money every day to survive that day. And how do I keep going? So it's a good thing that you said, whether you're homeless or the richest person in the world, what are you going to do to make yourself grow? And what are you going to do to how to communicate with other people?
For sure.
So it's a good lesson. It's a good thing you said there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barry. Really appreciate your words. Coming from a person that's been doing it for a long time too. I definitely love talking about this stuff, and hopefully people can learn from what you said and from where we got.
Hopefully, I mean, there's got to be some advantage of it being around for enough time. We have enough experience. Even if you screwed up a lot of your life, at least there's something that someone can learn from it. Like, see this thing that I did? Yeah, don't do that. So there's always something you can learn from somebody else, even if it's a negative. Yeah, don't do what he did.
For sure.
Well, thanks again, Barry, for doing this, and tell everyone where they can find your books and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay, well, my first 2 books you can get on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. They're Flipping Point and The Angriest Childhood in the World. My next book should be out in about 6 weeks, and once again, bookstores are probably going to be closed, and bookstores aren't really a thing that much anyway. So the next book is called The Delightful Denver Doldrums. It's actually the completing of the trilogy. The first 2 books, Flipping Point and The Angriest Childhood in the World, are about me, and this is the 7 years I spent in Denver that started living homeless in New York City, moving to Denver, and then finally I ended up moving to Florida. So I call it a 7-year road trip, even though I spent 7 years in Denver. This is when I was 22, just graduated college. And I actually learned a lot about myself and my relationship with women. I thought it was the 7 best years of my life, and they were still some great times, but I realized there was actually a lot of trauma involved in my relationships with women that I see, wow, now I can understand a little bit why I'm like this now. So that's the next book that's going to be coming out. Like I said, that should be, hopefully by the summertime. And like I said, if you go to Amazon, then if you go to my first books, they always chain them. So if you want to see Flipping Point, it'll then show you also by Barry Norman, The Angriest Childhood in the World. That got some good reads just because the title, it says, okay, we kind of know what this book's about. So yeah, The Delightful Denver Doldrums will be the next one, hopefully by the summer.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this, and enjoyed listening to your stories. And I'd like to talk to you about your other book, the one that we had talked about eventually. So we'll be in contact.
That should be soon. Like I said, right now, I mean, there's a couple more things to be ironed out, which is why I can't talk about that one. That's the one book not about me. I think I've written about me enough. I mean, as I tell everyone, I'm an interesting combination. I'm a self-loathing narcissist. So that becomes interesting books. I think I've said everything about myself. So that book is about someone else. And like I said, if you want to have me on, I enjoyed this. So hopefully, and then I actually can talk about it. But I'm not trying to be cagey or anything like that. There's just other reasons why I just can't discuss it yet.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'd love to be back.
All right, man. Well, thanks again. And I'll post links for everyone to find all of Barry's books. And thanks for listening.
Okay. Thank you.
See you, man.
See you later. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.